welcome, right, to this informal, chill, I think Facebook live session, right, with Mr. Kenneth. You, right, I think for those who do not know Kenneth, right, you got to follow him, especially if you're into the investment space, the business entrepreneurship space, right. I think Kenneth is someone that can really learn from in terms of his insights, right, as you will see in this interview and sharing today, right. We're talking a little bit about Wallstreet Bets, right, the whole saga, how can entrepreneurs, investors, and traders alike, right, benefit and take advantage of these opportunities, right. But I guess first, Kenneth, thanks for coming on this interview, right. And let's start off maybe just sharing a little bit about yourself, what you do, right, and how do you get to where you are today.
Okay, sure. I think I realized I navigate my life based on obsessions. So I'll tell you what I'm currently obsessed with and the foundation I built that obsession from. So I'm obsessed with creating massive wealth through studying and leveraging the beliefs of people. So that means the more I study the human psychology, and the more I couple it with wealth creation, investment, persuasion, internet marketing strategies, I create massive wealth. And my foundation is I was a direct response copywriter, and I still am one of the best direct response copywriters in the world. I wrote for Mind Valley. I was the original copy chief for Mind Valley. I wrote for Agora. I had above the line advertising experience. So I worked for Ogilvy as well, won 12 advertising awards there. So those were my foundations. And the thing about the training of direct response copywriting is you understand human behavior and persuasion really well. And I leverage that superpower to build myself, several multi-million-dollar businesses. We serve clients like McDonald's, Fujitsu, Groupon. We were one of the top digital agencies in the region for a while. I cashed out one of those agencies to my business partners, spent 2-3 years chilling, playing video games and everything. And now I accidentally started a movement, which you're part of, called WYODC, which stands for Write Your Own Damn Check. And it's basically gathering entrepreneurs, people around the world who want to reclaim their financial destiny into their own hands, using superior marketing, business, and investment strategies. And that group is growing. It's already near, like it's just made a lot of money for me in a very short time, because it's only launched last year. But it also is an avenue for me to speak. And I recently started a YouTube channel, as you know, 2 days ago, I think, or something, which I talk about the crazy things happening in the world.
So I think there's a list of like huge accomplishments, right? And so happy to have you on. So like I guess to get started in this interview, before it goes straight to the Wall Street saga, I think a lot of people are probably gonna wait for that. I'm just curious, right? Like, so for example, like as in like say you tap into the psychology, right, of people, right, and use that to leverage to create massive wealth for yourself. Like I guess in your opinion, I'm just curious, like what do you think are like maybe 2 or 3 things, right, that you feel that, for example, a new entrepreneur, right, or a new marketer, or a new copywriter, in fact, right, if you want to get into the space, what do you think are 2 to 3 things, right, that you realize that you found about people, right, in terms of their psychology, their mind, right, that is pretty uncommon outside, right, but I feel that it's actually 2 or 3 distinctions, right, that people can really use and leverage on in today's world right now, right, that can help them to create like what I call like massive wealth and massive impact in for this year actually.
Yep, sure. One of the things I teach WYODC is position and strategize based on what people will do and not what they should do. So position themselves on what they will do, not what they should do. Because we often, when you're starting out, even till now, sometimes we either do investment, or we do internet marketing, or we do business based on ideal world scenarios, based on this perfect world where the customer wants to buy from you. But that's not often the case, because people do what they do, and the market does what it wants. And in order for you to succeed, you need to know what the market generally will do and position yourself to that direction. And so let me give you an example. So for instance, if you're doing any form of business that's related to, let's say, the government, you cannot basically say, oh, the government will handle the virus properly, they'll handle the virus with amazing like
results
they
and yeah.
results. So they should do that. I mean, Singapore is doing a much better job than where we are, truth to be told. but if you base it on a utopian version of the government will handle this perfectly, and if not, you're just scolding the government. Why are you not handling it perfectly? Of course, they're going to handle it perfectly. It's new, and a lot of them are useless in the first place. So, if you have that in mind, then you position your business in a way to survive, and not in hopes and dreams. Hope isn't a strategy. What should happen? You position what will happen. Another example, let me give you on a macro scale. Okay, the virus. Everybody thinks the virus by April is going to go away. So, but it's probably not. In fact, there are all these new variants, the Brazilian, South African, the UK variant, all extra infectious, which means we may not see any daylight until maybe next year. So then your approach shouldn't be
longer, right?
Probably longer. Yeah. I mean, it may not happen, but that's the general trait. And the Westerners have this weird anti-vaxxer, like I'm not going to take the vaccine because it's the Antichrist. Bill Gates is evil, and there's a microchip. So if a huge chunk of the Western world is like that, then things will be delayed, because that's what they will do. As infuriating or as stupid as that, maybe that is what they will do. And so then you position your life accordingly. Don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Look for the light in the tunnel. Because you're going to be in the tunnel for a while. But that's how I approach.
From what I see, right, it's really about like not being like too tied up or attached to a certain outcome that you should happen, right? But just looking at what things are, right, and then responding to it. And this holds true whether you're an entrepreneur, marketer, or even an investor, right? Because a lot of investors, I think that they like to trade on something that they feel should go up, but when it doesn't, right, they might start whining, they might start being affected. But like, look at what's happening right now in the market and respond towards it. Right, so I guess that brings us to the core, right, of today's topic, like this whole Wallstreet Bets saga and stuff. So I've been reading a little bit, but I'm sure you have been reading and already analyzing it. Maybe for just sort of one or two people watching it right now, right, Kenneth, you would like give just a quick summary of what have you seen, right, over the past week in terms of this entire saga is going on, just for the one or two people around.
So basically what happened was the hedge fund guys got really greedy. So the whole problem happened because short selling. The hedge fund did short selling, which is part of the ecosystem. It's okay to short sell. Some people hate short selling, but I think it's okay to short sell. But what they did was they shorted 140% of the stock, which is insane. Like you short more than the actual stock, which shouldn't happen. And usually, if you go anywhere more than 10% of, so if you actually short more than 10% of the stocks, it's already considered a warning sign. Like basically, that means that company is in a lot of trouble already. If it's more than 10%, but these guys are 140%. And basically, this guy called Roaring Kitty, who is from Wallstreet Bets, saw that there was this loophole that hey, if we actually create some call options, if we decide to actually buy the stock at this point, it will create a short squeeze. That means they're forced to sell their shares at this price, but the price of GameStop keeps going up, and therefore they're forced to sell their squeeze. So the stock goes up further, and then the stock went from, I don't know however much it was, $5 to $500 in a few weeks. And so it caused a big commotion in the economy. Not so much what the narrative says. I mean, the narrative says is us or the hedge fund people are so greedy. We're now wiping them out. Like basically, I mean, Melvin Capital is one of the most respected hedge funds in the world. The founder is actually very respected in the community. But the main issue is they got careless. Like you should actually hedge your positions during the time, but they didn't, and now they're paying the price for it. So basically now what I found really interesting, it's not an investment story. It's actually a culture conflict story. It's actually a culture war story of young versus old. So And so yeah, that's my take on it. And should I share what I learned from a book called The Fourth Turning?
Yep, absolutely. I think that'd be really useful for the guys for the guys to learn. Yeah, about that.
Oh, okay, have you heard of the fourth turning?
I read
Now,
I heard about the book, but I haven't really known the full premise of it.
okay, so it's like this. So this whole explanation. So let me tell you. Okay, my approach to life is I look at the macro, I look at the micro. Which
Yep.
means, so the micro are things like copywriting strategies, funnels, all those are still important.
Yeah.
But on the macro level, because we're affected by the economics and by what I call the zeitgeist, the spirit of the age. And The Fourth Turning is a very interesting book. It was written in 1990. And the book is interesting because it was first recommended to me by a missionary. Then it was
Okay.
recommended to me a few weeks later by the macro investing community. So these are the smartest bond traders
Yep.
in the world. And
Yep.
they regard that book as the Bible. And number three, Steve Bannon, who is Trump's ex-chief of staff, liked the book as well and regarded it as a Bible for policy. So when a book, right, is endorsed by missionaries, macro investments, and the presidential council advisors, then it's something to take a look at. And what the book actually says is that there's a period in human history called the saculum. Saculum is about 90 to 100 years, so it's a long human period. And there's what we call turnings. Every 20 years, and there's four part 20 years. In the next 80, 90 years, there's something called the turnings. And all of that basically how the individual relates to the institution. And so I won't go so much into that, but essentially the fourth turning, which is what the book is about, and is where they say America is now, is where the individual and the institution has the most clashes. By institution, I mean the government, the police, and everything. Like there's very little trust between the individual and the institution. And you can even see in Singapore, you can see in Malaysia, like, PAP used to do no wrong, like nothing. Like even with my baby boomer generation, they still can do no wrong, but the youngsters,
the younger ones, younger generation, they're finding a lot of things to look at.
They find a lot to be dissatisfied with. So in America, that's crazy. Like under the Trump administration, BLM and all those things. So the main issue is they made Trump the scapegoat earlier on because Trump represented the boomer generation. But now what I find is about to happen, what is happening, it's actually now the young versus the old. It's not about whether they're Republican or Democratic anymore because Biden is equally old. It's still an old person's institution. The hedge fund guys are old. The Wall Street is old. And what happens is Wallstreet Bets is now the dissatisfied expression of what's happening among the youth. And so why they're so dangerous is because it's not a standard investment bubble, meaning retail investors go mania and they charge in. It's a mania, but it's a movement as well. And that's very powerful and dangerous as well.
So I guess like as in based on the book and based on your thoughts, right? Like with whatever that's going on, right? What do you see like and in America, right? So I think like in Singapore and Malaysia and some other countries, like it's rising, right? But I think it hasn't been this high like for a long time in America itself, right? Like what do you see happening to, I guess, the economy, the country, or in terms of this entire saga to end out in the next couple of months or even years' time? Like where do you see all this end? Like are we going to see a huge revolution in the market? Is that like the government is going to just be dissolved and a whole new Donald Trump, his new party coming in? Like where do you see this ending down the
road? Truth is, I don't know. No one does. There's only scenarios because you really don't know what may happen. Because if another pandemic happens, then it delays things. But what's really interesting, I observe, is the fourth turning is happening very much in the States, but it seems to be maybe the third turning is happening in a lot of other countries, and maybe even the fourth as well. Because the whole hedge fund thing, suddenly what happened was with Wallstreet Bets, right, the crowd, suddenly people around the world all started buying GameStop, and not out
Supporting
of
the
making
rally
money,
and
supporting the rally. They say, "Screw you, Wall Street." It has nothing to do with them. Like, what does Wall Street have to do with you if you're living in France or something, or in Singapore?
Yeah.
Like this whole group, what the? That's so it's like, or the Malaysians, like what does that have to do with you? It doesn't have to do with you, like.
Yeah.
But then Wall Street represents something. And it represents that there is a huge dissatisfaction with institutions because all of them are run by old people. I mean, Singapore is trying to get younger, I know. Malaysia is definitely still older. But there does seem to be a bigger and bigger gap. And then I honestly don't know what is going to happen next. I don't think the government will collapse. It's very hard for a government to collapse. They will try to mend the bridges somehow, but I don't know how it happens. But for me, my interest in this is in a fourth turning kind of environment. What are the business opportunities? What are the money making opportunities in that environment?
So I guess
Yeah.
moving on with that, I guess so I see generally about 3 to 4 different groups, right, of people that can potentially benefit. So I think the first is the traders, right, and then I think we talk about some of the long-term investors. What do, right? Because some people are saying that they might sell off all their holding positions to cover the shorts. For example, then in terms of entrepreneurs, right, how do we position ourselves, no matter which space you're in, the info business, right, on some other spaces, right, to take advantage of this entire situation or dissatisfaction, right, with the government, with the old guard, right? And then I think number 4, I think it's just more of the everyday employee, right? How can they make sure they benefit, right, or can take advantage of these opportunities, right? So, like, I guess maybe if you're okay, we could start off maybe with the first group of people that are into this space in the first place, right? The whole traders portion. Like, in your opinion, like how will you like benefit or take advantage? I know you have made some moves through your YouTube videos. You have shared a bit about it. Share a little bit about how would you approach this entire situation from a trader or investor's perspective.
I think, right. So here's the thing about the whole GameStop thing that people don't actually know. So the GameStop narrative is David versus Goliath, right? Like, it's Wallstreet Bets versus Wall Street, pretty much.
Yep.
The main issue, right, is so the Reddit group has now about 8 million people, I think, which is quite sizable. You can move a market with 8 million, but you can't actually move it that much. You can move a lot, but you can't actually move it that drastically much, which means that there are actually other hedge funds, other big whales siding with Wallstreet Bets because that's the better bet. So basically, there's all these people cheering a movement, and there are a few whales. I mean, even like Shamaf, the billionaire, even put some call options on and all those things. So basically what that means, right, is the other hedge funds are looking, and they look at, okay, these people are a movement, they're an army. Let's see what the army does. And if the army is on the winning side, we will also support them because there's money to be made.
Yeah.
And because these guys are so resolute, like, basically, no, we will hold AMC, we will hold BlackBerry and all those things. The other thing, what they're doing, and this is quite fascinating, is this whole thing is a short squeeze strategy, right?
Yeah.
And so what has been happening is all the other traders and funds are piled into all those stocks with high shorts interest.
Yeah.
So to force a potential squeeze in each of them. So there's probably like these 20 companies. All 20 companies have actually gone up in the last 1 or 2 weeks. Like, basically, because it's okay, this is something that works. Let's pile it on.
Yeah.
So my strategy with these things is really, I look at the movement. So I look at Wallstreet Bets as a market signal.
Yeah.
So the danger is if you treat that market signal as your only signal. So that's what a lot of people do. Like, oh, GameStop is going up to 1,000 or 10,000. I'm going in.
Yeah.
And it may go up to 1,000. I don't know. But apparently GameStop, the short interest have gone up from 140% to about 30% now. So they actually...
I just went up for a while, then it went. Okay. Yeah.
It went drastically down because the big guys can trade after hours.
Okay.
And if you don't do that, you will crash the economy we can go into that later or not. So, but there's a domino effect with these guys. So So basically, I will look at it as a market signal. And I will just treat it as a market signal, and then I make a decision. So I have something called the YOLO portfolio. So I generally look at macro investment trends and all those things, like, is gold going up, copper going up. Natural gas went up more than silver yesterday. Like, no one talks about it, but natural gas have actually gone up. So I look at all this. I look at things from the macro and value perspective, but I also have a YOLO perspective, which is more of a gamer perspective than an investor perspective.
Yeah.
Because with these sort of things, it's not about fundamentals anymore. You throw fundamentals out the window. I mean, the stock market has not really relied on fundamentals for a very long time. Like, it's 80% story.
Market sentiment, and story, and just expectations,
it's mainly
inflated.
story. Yeah. Which is why, as someone who's a behavioral specialist like me, then I have an advantage, because I just look at the story. I just trade according to story. But based on that, whatever 10-20% of the portfolio, and basically being responsible. But like I say, there's a YOLO signal that's coming from Wallstreet Bets and all the speculative Reddit groups. I think you make a decision. And you make a decision not based on fundamentals, but based on social media signals.
Yeah.
So, because all these are what we call, these are meme stocks, right? So emphasis on meme. So essentially, what is a meme stock like GameStop, AMC, even Dogecoin is basically, it's a meme married to a market mechanism. So the more something is talked about, the more you actually can make money. Like, it actually correlates. The meme correlates with the market. So in a sense, you treat it like, if you're early into the meme, you probably will make the money. It will be a self-reinforcing prophecy. And then you exit before the height of the meme, or before the peak, which is so it's a different mindset.
It's because, like, what I see. Okay, so I think firstly, I love that. Okay, right, you segregate it very clearly. Like, there's one portfolio for investments, and then there's another portfolio for like your YOLO, right? With something that I also talk a little bit about. But I guess we're moving on, because we talk about like human psychology, right? So recently, I also joined this Telegram group, right, of Wallstreet Bets. I don't know if it's official and stuff. I know there's about 120,000 people inside, and everybody is just trying to like pitch their reason for why they should invest in certain stocks. So there are some people saying diamond hands with GameStop and AMC. Somebody saying Barry, somebody saying silver. Some people say screw you, why are you saying silver? Some say no, don't buy SLV, buy physical silver. So there's a lot of opinions going on right now. I think that's one thing. So people are very divided about what do they exactly do. So I don't know if there's something to look out for, right? It's going to be very sparse eventually. But I guess the other reason is from what I see, right? The fact is that GameStop right now is about 400. Can it go up to about 1,000 or 2,000? Yeah, probably to me, like best case scenario is about 5 times investment, right? But it is definitely nothing compared to the returns you have gained if you invested it when it was $5, $10, $20. But the fact that people are still entering it, right? But that the max might go about 5 times, right? For some people might be life-changing money, especially with options you can. But so what are your thoughts about this? Like, is it something because like people are still into GameStop where people feel that the like you said, it's 30% short interest right now. It might not shoot up as much as it should. And then there's a lot of sparse different opinions of what the next GME should be, right? So do you think because of that, right, the whole Wallstreet Bets, the whole meme stock strategy, right, might not be as profitable or beneficial, right, as what it was before? Do you see something that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks or days even?
So someone said GameStop might go up to 1,000 or go down to 10. Or go down to less than 100 at least in the next few days. It will either go, it's actually a K shape. It will go either way. Simply because one thing is, like I said, the short interest has gone down. I mean, we're still at 140% maybe. But there's a lot of other things in play. One thing is, a lot of brokerages, you can't actually trade GameStop anyway. You trade very limited GameStop. And there's actually liquidity issues for it. There's like Robinhood is just a messed up case. Like, so basically, brokerages are limiting, which means even if you mania, you can't pump. So I mean, you still can do other brokerages and all those things. It's now a good time to go in. I don't know. to be uh, you go with money you can risk lah. And don't be
Mm.
greedy. Don't think you make 5x. If you make 10%, just take your 10-20% and leave. Like, I mean,
Mm.
Buffett doesn't even do 20% a year.
Yeah.
So if you do 20% a day, then so be it. Like, chill and then just get out. Like, at
Mm.
this stage, because like I say, you look at the meme. Now the meme is
Yeah.
trending downwards already.
Yeah.
It's no longer upwards. It was yesterday's
Yeah.
news cycle, which means if you
Yeah.
were there from that stage of the meme earlier, I think you
Mm.
have made money. Now
For sure. Yeah.
you may still have made some money because it's actually married to some interesting fundamentals. But
Yeah.
will you make 5-10x? I don't know. Like I'm
Yeah.
setting my take profit at like $1-2 more or something. Like I'm not actually.
Ah.
Um,
Okay.
so it depends. Like
Yeah.
so yeah, I think we now
We
all the
might see
retails
the
are
end.
coming.
Yeah. Of the
Yeah,
huge.
I mean, it may
Yeah.
still go
So
up. It may still go up, but given the fact
yeah.
that a lot of brokerages are actually like E-Trade and all those, like
Limiting. Yeah.
not just limiting, like apparently Robinhood actually starts selling your shares. They start
Yeah.
liquidating your shares
Automatically. Yeah.
automatically,
Without like your approval.
and eToro actually liquidated shares as well. Like actually triggered a stop
Wow.
loss
Yeah.
without people knowing. They automatically put
Wow.
a stop loss.
So they are all into, yeah, and so like, and for me, I have no idea, like, oh, is it like a concerted effort by the hedge funds to secretly tell the brokerages to like, hey, no, you got to do all this, not we like cut off. I have no idea how it, but the fact is that, right, the amount of purchases you can buy, like the people's ability to invest to pump up the mania is severely limited, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a good confirmation that, hey, right, you might be able to see some profits, right, but it might not be as parabolic as like the what you saw like 2 weeks ago, for example. So I think it's a
Yeah.
very good mindset for the people out there who are watching it, who is like, okay, right, if I want to get into it, right, it's either a big FU to the movement, right, just to participate in the whole
Yeah.
excitement of things, right, or that, okay, even if you earn some, it might not be as much as what you think, right, in terms of $400 to $500, where you go from 500 to tens of thousands, the likelihood is almost close to nothing, right? So
Yeah.
I think, yes, I guess with that, right, the next question is, I think, looking more to a bit of the investors perspective, right, before I move on to talking about entrepreneurs and how they can position themselves, like
Yeah.
where do you see, and of course, like, we never know, we don't have a crystal ball and stuff, but from your behavioral finance standpoint, or from behavior of humans, like, where do you see the market moving in the next 3 to 6 months, right? Is it something, do you think that we should be a bit more mindful of the risk, even from a long-term perspective of an investor, right? Because of potential market crashes, things might, like, hedge funds might just sell down the market to just create a little more panic, right? Or do you think that the retail investor was all caught up so much into this whole hype, right, that the market will just keep going up for the months to come? Like, from your perspective, where do you see it for you, and how would you position yourself as a long-term investor?
I don't think the hedge funds are going to trigger a crash. It's not in their best interest. That's a conspiracy.
Okay.
Where I see it. Okay, this is where the consensus macro investing thesis. This is what all the
Yeah.
seasoned investors are saying. But they say
Yeah.
it could switch because you have black swan
Mm.
events like GameStop. You have black swan events like the virus and all those things.
Yeah.
But if there are no black swan events,
Black
it's what we call
swans. Yeah.
it's called the reflation trend. That
Okay.
means because of the vaccines, because of everything, we will actually start going back to normalcy, and
Okay.
the economy will start becoming good.
Mm.
The only issue is, so here's the thesis: it's going to be a reflation, and then it's going to be
Mm.
a collapse. It's going to be a bear market after that. And the reason for why it's going to be a bear market overall is
Mm.
but I say bear market for the states. So let me
Mm.
just, the thesis is like this: is states first, and then it's going how it affects the
Rest
rest of
of,
the world.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is, I think Biden has a 1.9 trillion stimulus package,
Yep.
and now with whatever the market is happening, one thing you need to know about the market is not so, the worrying thing is not the hedge funds. Because hedge funds are actually
Mm.
private companies. They say build out the hedge funds. You don't have to build out the hedge funds. Like, they're private companies.
Yeah.
There's no value
Mm.
for you building out the hedge
Yeah.
funds. The problem is the retirement funds have parked their money with the hedge funds.
Yeah.
That means people's 401ks, your CPFs, pretty much. are parked with the hedge funds. And traditionally, CPFs or 401ks are meant for safe investments. So bonds and treasuries, pretty much. But bonds now is in nearly negative territory. Like it's negative 1% in Germany right now. So they're actually going to more and more dangerous things. Like, why are you parking your money with a hedge fund? Basically, it's dangerous. And your hedge fund is then shorting GameStop at 140% flow.
Yeah.
So that, and they're already almost insolvent, which means that makes things worse. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, so 1.9 trillion stimulus, and the reason for the stimulus is we prop up the US economy, so that by the time the vaccine, everyone is vaccinated or 50% herd immunity, borders open up, we will continue on this level. So they're not allowing the economy to crash. That's the idea. But here's the thing. The problem is when you pump it this way, and you hit the point where the vaccine is there, borders are opening up, everything's opening up. What that you then realize is the main street economy, the general economy, is in a shit shape.
Yeah.
So you think the economy is like that because the market is like that, but the economy is actually all suffering over here. And so what happens when you see things are not so good in the States, and then you can't pump any more money anymore, or it's not the most feasible thing anymore, then what will happen? It will trigger the mother of all bear markets in the States.
When the reality of the economy, right, coincides with the actual stock market, and people understand the huge gap going on, and then it will
pop. And then what happens is, because money still need to flow, so like, money is not going to stop. They're not going to hold cash. It will go somewhere, and it will go to two areas specifically: commodities and emerging markets like India, China, Singapore, etc., and all those things. Because we don't have that problem. Like, in a sense, we don't have the fiscal, like, we don't print money the way these guys do. But and then we are recovering, even though we're also suffering. But in a sense, I think we'll recover faster. So the trade that is going to happen is basically, so bond yields will go up because the risk-off sort of trades. Commodities will go up simply because, one, it's that sort of economy, but also the weather patterns for this year are going to be very unusual. So I study the weather patterns as well. It's going to be like the mother of all climate change issues, pretty much. So that means China will still have a flood. Things will still, like, there's going to be a food shortage. It's going to have a lot of shocks in the wheat, corn, and everything. Like, even corn went up 30% in the last 1 month. No one talks about corn.
Nobody's talking about it.
But so what happens is you get all these random things. So basically, if you park in commodities, uranium, oil, green energy, and all those things, or not green energy, maybe the lithium, rare earths. There's a bull market actually going on in the sector. Like, everyone talks about silver yesterday going up. It got 6%, but yesterday natural gas went up even more, and no one talks about it. So there's this entire bull market which is in the commodities, and which is in. And the main catalyst for why that happens is the US dollar is going to drop in value, I think. So pretty much wherever the US dollar drop, then emerging markets go up.
Okay. So I guess that the other question is, besides emerging markets, right, and commodities, right, there's two things that I think more people haven't really been looking at because of all this whole saga, right? So those are great opportunities there. What do you think about cryptos, if that's the case? I mean, I know there's a Dogecoin. I know we're just talking about that Shiba coin that people just went crazy with it. Like, so where do you see decentralized finance and crypto being? What role do they have to play in this entire movement, and what is going to happen over the next couple of years then?
Crypto overall is going to be a wild west for a while, but Bitcoin is really getting institutional support. In fact, it was maybe only 5 days ago, a white paper was released for Bitcoin, specifically for institutions to take a position in. which
Oh wow.
basically means
Okay.
that which means that Bitcoin is legitimized, and then Elon talked about Bitcoin as he did that
Yeah.
Twitter bio thing, because
Yeah.
Bitcoin always has been known as speculation.
Yep.
But I find that
But the big boys.
Bitcoin is a lot more stable than the meme stocks anyway. So we just live in this unusual world.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and for me, it's actually now safer to put your money in Bitcoin than it is to actually put it in equities, I think.
Mm.
Or at
Because of
least
the
put it as a hedge.
yeah. Yeah.
As inflation hedge, Bitcoin is very good,
Mm.
because if you actually look at how it tracks the last
Mm.
few years, I mean, it has
Yes.
grown tremendously.
Mm.
Will it crash all the way to 23, 5K again? Unlikely.
Mm.
Because all the
Because there's
whales,
so
as in
much.
the big institution. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Bitcoin is has only like 21 million in supply. It means it's a good long-term
Yeah.
play. I mean, I
Mm.
wouldn't, I would just hold it until, or hodl it, as they say, until it reaches a certain point, and I will still hodl some more. I think it will keep
Okay.
going up, I think.
Yeah.
Ethereum, same. Ethereum seems like it has more upward potential. But
Yeah.
those things you don't speculate. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, you
Mm.
treat it almost like silver and gold a little bit. It's like a
Yeah.
more volatile version of silver and gold,
Yeah.
stores of value.
The digital hedge. The
Uh,
digital hedge and yeah.
yeah. Altcoins, different story. So
That's the whole yeah.
yeah, altcoins is like meme stocks. Not all the time. There are some good altcoins out there, and altcoins always work best when Bitcoin is stable,
Mm.
because you trade Bitcoin with altcoins,
Yeah. Yeah.
and altcoin potential is crazy. I mean, it outperforms anything I see. Like,
Yeah.
other than GameStop, the thing about crypto you need to understand is the wild wild west,
Mm.
and
Anything can
anything that is unregulated and uncertain, you can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so so basically, it means you go into altcoins with money you're prepared to lose, but if you gain nuts
Tremendous.
amounts.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But that's
recently,
a
I just
whole
had two
other
coins. Yeah. So I
yeah.
just parked my money in two coins a few weeks ago. I like didn't care, just park it in because someone said so. It was just someone said so.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I reviewed it after a few weeks. One went up by 5 times, another went up by 3 times.
Just
So my only
yeah.
regret, I didn't put my life savings in. It was actually
Yeah.
as
So
usual,
that's the whole
right?
part
Like,
about yeah.
so
So that's the whole
altcoins
part about
are wild wild west and very susceptible to market manipulation. Which is fine if you're
mm.
the one manipulating the market, or you know the people who are manipulating the market. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
insider
That's
trading,
it.
but legal insider trading.
Yeah, because it's like unregulated. All right, so I think that's good. I think thanks so much for sharing like perspectives from like both an investor, right, and a trader's perspective, right, and what are some upcoming trends to really take a look at, right, commodities, emerging markets, right. So I guess moving on, right, moving on the nature of it to the entrepreneur, right, or the marketer, like how would you like generally maybe like share a little bit about how would you personally like take advantage of whatever that's going on right now, right, with the whole saga, the increasing volatility, and why I say the fourth turning that's happening right now in America, like how would you try to like position your for your business, right, to take advantage of these opportunities that are coming up or it happening right now even?
Several ways. The first way, this is more of a marketing positioning,
Yep.
is that if you follow a fourth turning positioning, that means you either side with the baby boomers, because all
Yeah.
these young punks are being ungrateful, or you side with the
Mm.
millennials, and you position big tech and government and all these institutions as evil, you can
Mm.
form a tribe and a community really fast. I mean,
Mm.
WYODC even does a little bit of that. I mean, we don't do a lot of it because I'm not really that anti-government. I just think you should be more
Yeah.
independent than
Yeah.
reliant on the government so much.
Yeah.
But that positioning is actually working. Like, it's a growing movement, it's flourishing. Everyone's like WYODC. So, it's
Yeah.
like, so it's working. So when you actually write either your sales promotions or everything, you actually have that common enemy. For the younger people, the common enemy is all these institutions. Then you actually, in a sense, you get a more fervent supporting group. The other thing, right, is with the volatility that is going on, one thing that has happened is we have accelerated, technologically accelerated like crazy.
Yeah.
Like
For sure.
like pandemics are not, in a sense, pandemics are very unusual catalyst, because what it does, it forces structural change in the economy. So you know how in economy we have like boom and bust cycles. It's all like bear, bull market and everything. In pandemics, the bull and the bear happen at the same time, but for different industries. So
Yeah.
I call it the K-shape. So there's a K-shaped economy that happens. So there are certain things which are just going to go down, like business travel forever change. If you're doing commercial real estate in the States, I don't know about Singapore, but if you're doing commercial real estate in the States, especially places like San Francisco, everything is terrible. Like Google just moved. Like Facebook say you can work from home forever and all those things. Which means on the New York office spaces with Manhattan, the banks and all those things, they're not empty and they may actually remain empty. So if you're in that space structurally, you need to either get out or do something else, or be prepared for just a permanent reduction. Whereas maybe even like, let's say like events may bounce back up, but virtual events are going up, like
for sure. Like
like Zoom and work from home and all those things are going up. DeFi, like the reason why DeFi is suddenly adopted, even though it's supposed to be 5 years away, but it's happening now. It's because of the pandemic.
Accelerate.
Banks need to quickly do something about it. I mean, it's not just tech stuff. Like even things like bread yeast you used to bake your bread also, it has went up like this by 20 times. And embroidery material has gone up by 20 times. So if you're a business, your key is to avoid the lower part of the K and basically try to ride the wave of the, because now it's accelerating. Everything's accelerating. So the key is, how do I position myself for that future? And
I think it's so powerful. Like, how do you take advantage of the opportunities that are coming up as a result, right, of whatever that's going on, right? And I think this is something that I guess this is something that you can say that it applies to entrepreneurs, right? It applies to marketers, right? But for example, like if you look at the every 9 to 5 employee, right, in terms of a working employee, right? I don't have much time in my during work, right? But I have some free time at site, like. If you could, right, like what would you like? There one or two, right, for this group of people, right, that employees, right, they want to get something started because of this entire situation, right? What would be one or two tips you have for this group of people, right, on how they can actually take advantage of whatever that's going on right now, right? Whether they are trying to start maybe a flip marketing business, e-com business, right, or info business, like what would be one or two things you would actually recommend them for to take a look at, to go deeper before starting out their side hustle or their business, right, so they can ensure that they thrive during this period. So I think at the same time, right, for the rest, for those who are watching, if you have any questions, put it in the comments. We have a little bit of time for Q&A as well. So if any questions, you can feel free to put it in the comments as well, and we also have them get answered in the next couple of 10 or so minutes. So Kenneth, like, you just start off with me, just what was one or two tips you have for this group of people to excel in this during this time?
So a few things. I think entrepreneurship is risky, personally. Sounds a bit weird, since I lead entrepreneurs. But you have a 99% failure rate, right? So basically, so you can YOLO. It's fun to YOLO, but I would I would actually say, right, if you're still in a job and the job is paying you, study where the future will be in. Okay, let me give you a very huge tip. This is my basis for wealth creation and the wealth creation of a lot in the investment community. There's this 12-year cycle in technology where computing power exponentially increases. So we are in the 14-year cycle, and we are in the 12th year of a 14-year cycle. So in 2 or 3 more years, we're going to have the next leap in technology. So if you actually trace on the 14-year cycles, you will actually see it is actually true. So 12 years ago, because we're at 40 years, 12 years ago, it was the beginning of the mobile internet. So smartphones and all those things. 14 years before that was the creation of the internet and all the protocols, the the TPT and IP
Oh,
and all those
yeah.
things. 14 years before that, it was the PC. 14 years before that, it was the microchip, and 14 years before that, it was the mainframe.
Oh,
And
and
every 14-year cycle, that's where all the billionaires are created. So every cycle, explosion of wealth happens in these 14-year cycles. If you think
yeah,
about it, right? Like Apple really became the mega company it was because of the smartphone and all those things.
yeah,
And before that, the PC was Microsoft, Dell, and all those.
yeah.
So there's new wealth created. And so yeah, in this 2-3 year phase, where in 2025 or 2024, there will be almost like a revolution in computing power, which means there'll be a
Mm.
whole range of industries that will, if not replace the former industries, will supplement them, which means, and these are the ones with a lot of earning power. So you study
Yep.
AI now, in 3 years, deep learning will be mature enough, and they need more and more AI specialists. If you're doing like basically EV or electronic vehicles, with in 3 years' time, it's going to be the green energy is going to be a new thing. That means if you are transitioning out oil and gas, you do green energy now. That's the job of the future. If you're transitioning out of traditional biotech, there's now gene editing and CRISPR and all those things. Quantum computing. I mean, quantum computing might be the next 14-year cycle after that. But
Yep.
what I'm trying to say is there's all these new industries.
Yep.
So you position yourself based on these industries, either from an investment standpoint, business standpoint, and employee standpoint. So you start studying the
Mm.
hell out of AI and deep learning. You start studying DeFi and blockchain. You start studying, because this is where all the jobs of the future are with the higher paying salaries. And you might earn more from these jobs than you would as a side hustle.
Wow. I love it. So really like I think what you say about the 14-year technology cycle, right? Looking at what are the big ones that are coming up, right? What is going to be the next huge revolutions, right? And then to position yourself in that career and that business, right? And then that's how you actually can create that form of, to be part of that next wave of millionaires, billionaires, or next wealth transfer that's going on, right? So yeah, so I guess with that, right, I think we have a few more minutes left, right? We like I guess just to end off, right? We just to finish and end off. So I think you hang out with quite some of the richest people around, right? In terms of your networks. So maybe I share a little bit about what are some of the big things that you guys are looking at during this period, right? What are some of the other things that you might want people to be aware of, to just take a little look at, right? So that they actually take advantage of this entire opportunity that's going on. I think we've talked a little bit about it, like AI, right? Gene editing, right? With the whole CRISPR technology. But anything else you might want to like say, hey, actually might be good to work or worth looking at, right? To possibly take advantage of whatever that's going to come in our way in the world for the next couple of years' time.
Okay. There's something all of you can do, and I might plug something a little bit.
Okay,
So
yeah.
is the online education space. That means the online courses space is a very hot market right now because offline education has shut down. So it's the accessible thing. Like if you look at AI and everything, it's like, oh, like,
Yeah.
it's like something in the future and everything. You can go and do it online. Like if you're actually doing online courses now, that's actually quite huge growth potential because the market is only just starting to heat up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing online courses the last 12 years. I haven't seen activity like it even from last year because I talk about the K shape, right? So it's on the top of
Yeah.
the K. So you need to monetize your ability with an online course. But here's a problem. There's something I teach called the proliferation paradox. Have I told you about it? So
Yes, I yeah.
yeah, so the proliferation paradox basically means that with the democratization of information and with the democratization of technology, you can very easily create an online business and you would know what
Yeah.
to do with the online business because there's so many people competing with you. That means you will have a very low floor in terms of the knowledge because the knowledge is all out there. You go YouTube, you can get the knowledge,
Information.
but you
Yeah.
have a very limited ceiling because there's a lot of competitors out there.
Yeah.
And so Just to announce to you, Mark, this
Yeah.
is No Corona is reopening. So
Wow. Okay. That's good.
uh, so woo, after Chinese New Year is opening. So No Corona is totally free. I think Mark has went through the course. It's already changed lives. Like people got hired by hip hop stars after applying it for free. So it's my methodology of how you create info courses. How do you build a personal brand when the world is so damn hyper competitive? And actually, how to make money doing that. I mean, you have been a success story. Luke is a success story. So basically, and it's for people who have a specialization and want to monetize it with info products. They have said, oh, everyone's creating a course now and everything, but they don't know not just how to create a course, but how do you stand out in this crazy world? And No Corona is actually all about you stand out and how do you deliver your message in a way that people will listen. Like, I bet all of you here are listening to me. There's a specific methodology to how I deconstruct things. And so for that, you just have to go to attentionempire.com, sign up, and you can, for free, really. Of course, there's an offer in the end, blah, 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 like as all marketers do. But the free stuff is crazy good. Like, if you can see how I talk here and everything, the free stuff is crazy good. That's attentionempire.com. So that's one way, like very conveniently accessible way to. The second way is to just read up on all these things, to be informed about the world. Because here's the thing about creativity, right? And is basically creativity is a connection of two things that have no relation to one another prior to this, and you actually create innovation from there. Which means the more you study the trends, the macro investing, the history, the more you expose yourself out there, the more avid you are as not just a reader, but as a trends sort of thing. Yeah. Then the more your brain actually percolates with specific things. Like, I study weird things. Like I study things like the economics of assassination. Like basically I just study really strange things like or the French Revolution. Like so King Louis chopped off his head. What were the underlying things? And then that's how I create innovations from. So always be on the cutting edge of that. And then if you're an investor, then that's how you invest. You know that, hey, maybe the EV space is really hot because the Democrats like green energy. That's the Green New Deal. Or is they're going to invest in infrastructure. Let's invest in the lithium stocks. I don't know about Tesla, but but Tesla is a different story. Elon is a different story. That's the original meme stock. And then you position yourself from there, or you partner in a business. And let me tell you another thing about the e-courses thing that was so interesting for me. And that is the e-courses. And in the process of marketing and creating these e-courses, I've been given a lot of very different opportunities. So for instance, I'm a mentor to a startup accelerator, and I'm a mentor to a Silicon Valley startup. So both accelerator and startup, they invite me to be a mentor. And in the case of the startup, equity and all those things, because they went through my program, they like what they see, they were so impressed with what I did, they invited me in. And let me tell you about getting equity in startups. So we talk about wealth creation, right? So the thing about retail investing, when you invest in the stock market, the stocks are already very expensive already. You're talking about times 30, times 50 earnings and all those things. If you invest, the thing, if you're a fund or hedge fund or angel investor, if you're the original angel investor in Facebook or in Amazon, your $25,000 becomes $1 billion. So you talk about exponential, that's exponential. But you cannot get these deals on the market. You can only get
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. You have to know people. That means it's a relational thing. And from that relationship, they will either ask you come be part of the initial funding round, or be if you're an expert, if you position as an expert, let me give you equity for the company and you get share of the profits.
Yep.
And if that company cashes out, you get a piece of the upside. So I've already done this with 2 or 3 companies. And these are long-term deals. You're not going to, it's not GameStop, but they have a very huge upside to it. But if you create the courses, the funny is when you, in the process of you creating the courses with what I call the gravitational courses methodology, gravitational because it pulls people towards you, and you position and say things the way I say, these sort of opportunities will happen really often. And you can start leveraging your position as an expert to even start getting equity in these sort of companies, and thus increasing the chances of what I call a liquidity event. A liquidity event is a massive cash spurt.
Yeah.
So your GameStop is a liquidity event. Some of the altcoins, or if you go invest in Bitcoin when it was 3,000 in March, it's now 40,000 or 35,000 or whatnot. It will position you for liquidity. I mean, you need activity events. I call it liquidity. Activity events are your day-to-day, your bread and butter, your value stock investing and all those things. And then you have your liquidity event, and that positions you. So the info products, the courses can position you for liquidity events. And if you can market it on Facebook and everything, then it becomes immensely profitable. That itself could be a liquidity event if you're converting on Facebook as well.
Wow, I absolutely love it, right? So like, as in, not only are you like taking advantage, right, in the whole online course, right, of this huge uprise in the online education space, but this actually can potentially position you, right, to have boundless opportunities for creating potential income, right? Whether it's as a consulting, right, whether it's getting into the doors of some of the millionaires or private networks, right, for you to then create to find yourself those opportunities, right, for huge growth in terms of income, besides just like you said, the day-to-day, the regular portion, right? So I think just to add on, right, kind of like in terms of Novo Olo, I think that was a huge turning point for me, right? When I got to find out about how do you position yourself, how do you market yourself, right? They're so different and unique, right, from any other like program or course that's out there, right? So that's something that I've achieved a lot. So I think I should go for a rerun for the Novo Olo just to get it as well. So everyone, so the link is in the comments, right? www.attentionempire.com, right? And I highly recommend it, right, for you to learn how you can position yourself, right, to actually take advantage of this entire online education space. And Kenneth is somebody that, in terms of his mind, right, and how he works, right, like I said, he studies the economics of how assassination works. That really gives you an idea, right, of the kind of creativity and insights that Kenneth can bring about that I feel like nobody else that I've known of, right, till today, right, can actually provide, right, in today's space for sure, right? So I guess, Kenneth, thanks so much for your time today. I enjoyed so much in the interview, right? So I guess with that, any last words or final pieces of advice you have for the group, for the audience over here, right? So whether it's an investor, employees, or entrepreneur, any last bit of advice before we close off today's interview?
One thing is, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Yes, we're going to put a link there as well.
Yeah, the link is some weird link because I can't get the custom URL. That's how new it is. So please subscribe so I can get 100, so I can put a custom URL. So that's what I ask. Any last words? I would say, first, thank you for listening. 2, think of life, right? I think of the purpose beyond yourself. Why are you doing the things you are doing? And have a purpose of wanting to change the world and not being satisfied by you either saying it or trying to raise consciousness. And what I mean by that is, all of us think about changing the world in terms of, let's do activist type things. So let's do awareness. So let's do awareness. But awareness will not change what people will do.
It's just aware.
It's just aware. But people only change. What people will do change is when ecosystems change. When, in a sense, when markets change. When different things change. Like, you need to think in terms of, if I really, really want to change the world. I mean, that's the first thing. I really want to change the world. And now let me, in my brain, formulate a strategy of how to get there. And that's when you study. Like, I'm driven by changing the world. I'm driven by changing my wife's nation of Zimbabwe. And the reason I do the things I do, the way I study, because I could very easily be a copywriter. Like, just me a direct response copywriter for Agora. I mean,
Yeah.
they make a lot of money anyway. The top guy there makes 3
Yeah.
million a year sitting at his desk.
Mm.
So I can be very comfortable doing that. But the reason I'm doing
Yeah.
what I'm doing is because I want to transform nations. And therefore the mind, the subconscious goes like, Kenneth doesn't have the knowledge to get there. It doesn't have the knowledge to
Yeah.
achieve that yet. And then
Mm.
that's when all these different things starts interconnecting, and I can give you the insights I give you today because of that drivenness. So be
Wow.
driven by the
Be
greater
driven,
good.
right? And wonderful. I absolutely love it. I think ultimately, I mean, like income can only get us so far in terms of like happiness, fulfillment, right? But when you have something you really are driven by, right? Something that actually drives you every day, right? Something that moves you, right? That's when life becomes a lot more, in my opinion, right? Meaningful, fulfilling, right? You are excited,
Yeah.
right? You're passionate, right? And I think then that is the life worth living. Right. So with that, thank you, Kenneth, so much for sharing your insights, your perspectives, right? I know you revealed a lot of some of the things that most of us, right, would never learn or know about, right, on a daily basis. So thank you so much for being so generous to sharing, right? And look forward to learning and connecting with you, right? So guys, if you haven't done it, right, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. The comments is right there, right? And also sign up for www.attentionempire.com, right? Just to get the free insights, right, into Kenneth's small overload training. He gives a lot of feedback, all right? A lot of good content that you don't find anywhere else, even in paid programs. So I highly recommend it, right? So with that, guys, we end off the interview. Thank you so much for listening in, and we'll see you guys very soon. Right, bye everyone. Bye guys.